The storm outside had no mercy that night. Wind howled against the glass walls of the high-rise hospital in downtown Seattle, rain slashing like blades against the city's glow. Inside, on the top floor, a woman lay dying, the woman whose name once ruled the tech world. Ariana Cole, the youngest self-made CEO in Silicon Valley, now reduced to a pale shadow of herself, fighting for every breath. The monitors beside her bed beeped weakly, as though the machines themselves were losing hope. Her body was failing, and the doctors had no answers left, but none of them knew that miles away, in a small-town clinic on the edge of nowhere, a single father, a man who had nothing left but his daughter, would soon hold the cure that could save her life, and change both of theirs forever. Ariana had built her empire from nothing. From a girl coding in her garage to leading Cortec, one of the biggest biotech companies in the world, she had lived for ambition, for results, for power. She believed love was a distraction, family a burden. Her board meetings were wars, her deals battles won with bloodless smiles. Until one day, her body turned against her. It began with fatigue, then the bruises, then the collapsing on stage during her own company's presentation. The world gasped. Headlines screamed. Billionaire CEO diagnosed with rare terminal illness, a blood disorder that no one had ever survived. Ariana's empire began to crumble the same way her strength did. Her closest advisors left. Investors panicked. And for the first time in her life, Ariana was alone, truly, terrifyingly alone. Across the state, Liam Turner was finishing his late-night shift at a small rural hospital. A former trauma surgeon who had left the city after tragedy struck, the death of his wife during childbirth, Liam lived for one reason now, his 8-year-old daughter, Emma. He didn't care about fame or money anymore. He cared about morning pancakes, bedtime stories, and making sure Emma never saw him cry. But that night, while checking old patient records for a local study, Liam stumbled upon a file that caught his eye, an experimental case that looked strangely similar to the rare disease the world-famous CEO had. A case that involved an immune anomaly, one he had once treated in his daughter's own blood sample years ago. It couldn't be a coincidence. Emma's rare immune profile, the same one that had saved her own life as a baby, might just be what Ariana needed. By dawn, the world learned Ariana Cole had been transferred to a secret facility for experimental treatment. The public assumed it was her company's desperate attempt to save its legacy. No one knew that a single dad from a forgotten town had been flown in quietly, clutching a small cooler of blood, his daughter's blood. When Liam entered the ICU room, Ariana was barely conscious. She looked nothing like the woman from the glossy magazine covers, her once fiery eyes now dim, her body frail, her breathing shallow. "Who are you?" she managed to whisper. "I'm not here for fame or money," Liam said softly. "I'm just here to try to save your life." The transfusion began that night. And as the blood entered her veins, a strange peace settled over the room. Ariana's pulse steadied. Her color returned faintly. It was working. The next morning, Ariana opened her eyes to see a man sitting quietly by her bedside, his little girl asleep in his lap, a small, blonde-haired child clutching a stuffed bear. "Is she yours?" Ariana asked weakly. "Yeah," Liam smiled, brushing Emma's hair from her face. "She saved your life, actually." Ariana's gaze softened. "Then I owe her everything." Liam shook his head. "No. Just live differently this time." Days turned into weeks. The recovery was slow, painful, but miraculous. Doctors called it impossible. Reporters speculated endlessly. But inside that sterile hospital room, something real began to grow, a quiet connection between a woman who had everything and a man who had lost it all. Ariana learned that Liam had once been a renowned surgeon, the kind who could have worked in her own labs, but left after losing his wife. He told her about nights spent by the fire with Emma, the laughter, the loneliness. And for the first time, Ariana found herself listening, not as a CEO, but as a human being. Liam's honesty broke through the armor she'd built over years of corporate wars. And she, in turn, showed him that she wasn't the heartless woman the world saw, she was just someone terrified of being vulnerable again. Then came the setback. A month later, Ariana's body began rejecting the treatment. Her condition crashed overnight. The media went wild again. Miracle CEO relapses. Liam was told the transfusion had failed, that he should prepare for the worst, but Liam refused. "She didn't come this far to die," he told the doctors. "We're missing something." He stayed up 3 nights straight, studying every chart, every scan, every possible reaction. And then he realized, Ariana's system wasn't rejecting Emma's blood. It was trying to replicate it. The process just needed time, and another dose. Without hesitation, Liam donated his own blood to balance the reaction. The risk was immense, but it worked. Ariana's vitals stabilized again, stronger than before. When she woke up, Liam was asleep beside her bed, pale and exhausted. She reached out, touched his hand, and whispered, "Why do you keep risking everything for me?" He smiled faintly without opening his eyes. "Because you're worth saving." Weeks later, the hospital discharged her. The world hailed it as a scientific miracle. But Ariana didn't return to her empire. She sold her shares, resigned from the company, and moved quietly to the countryside, near the small town where Liam lived. It was there, in the golden quiet of a morning sunrise, that Emma ran into her arms for the first time, laughing as Ariana caught her. The woman who once lived for power now lived for something simpler, something purer, love, and in that quiet farmhouse, far from the flashing lights of the city, Ariana finally found what she'd been missing all along, not just a cure for her body, but for her soul. Years later, when the story of the CEO who was saved by a single dad went viral again, a photo surfaced online: Ariana, Liam, and Emma at a small picnic by the lake. The caption read, "Sometimes, when everything is lost, life gives you exactly what you need, not in fortune, not in fame, but in love." And for millions who watched their story unfold, it wasn't just about science or miracles anymore. It was about hope, the kind that reminds us that even in our darkest moments, someone out there might just be the light we never expected.